Let's talk a little bit about submission. So a submission comes in. You were reading about 40 pages most of the time. I assume if you've got one that's just dreadful for 5 pages, then maybe you're busy.
Yes, I just want to say that agents screen. Agents screen for you. Usually, if you get something from an agent, it's because they believe they can sell it, and they know. So it's not like when I was an assistant in the late 80s and we were reading the slush pile, and stuff then was really bad. The SCBWI wasn't a big organization then, and there wasn't the internet, so people couldn't do the research, and you just got horrible crap all the time. So,
fair enough. So that has abated a little bit with the internet.
I think so. There's certainly a lot more available for people who are willing to learn. There's a lot of great stuff. The SCBWI, I believe, has done this huge service by really offering a place where the SCBWI serves a lot of writers and illustrators, but it's also a great place to go if you're a beginner. You can attend one conference and learn so much about what you need to do to submit and all that stuff. And I think that's great.
So what are some of the most common reasons for why you would say no, even though an agent's gone through and screened it ahead of time?
Well, lack of interest.
Fair enough.
It's a ton of work to put out a book. You really have to like it. I have to imagine that, I have to be kind of bouncy in my seat. That's a good sign. I love the characters. If it's a picture book, I can imagine reading it out loud with a kid and how much fun it would be to read aloud with or I imagine myself as a kid reading it and how much I would like it. There's a line in the musical company. There's a line that somebody sings when somebody's about to get married. The heart sinks down and feels dead. And, if I'm noticing this, like, I really don't want to, that is such a sign that I need to reject it. Because sometimes you think, this book is a good idea, and I could work and make this book good. But I have a feeling in my bones like, that's when you should pass.
Well, what if you get a manuscript and you like the manuscript, but the author says something that says, no, I like the book, but I don't want to work with that author? Or is that a problem for you?
Oh, what a juicy question that is. How am I going to answer that one? I will say there's an author who I remember is considered, well, let's see, how can I say this? If a writer or an agent, because sometimes there's a writer who you love, but their agent is a lot of work, makes a lot of changes to the contract, never happy about whatever you're doing for marketing. I don't really have any relationships with agents like that, but it could happen. But the person is great and they're a great writer, you'll do it because it's worth it. I knew an agent who I don't believe is in the business anymore, but she was really disorganized, and it was I had an idea for a book and I knew somebody who could write it, but his agent was she was just, I didn't want to have to do all the work of organizing her and following up with her and having her ask questions that weren't relevant to the book. So I sent it to somebody else. So that's bad. Doesn't happen very often. But there was a writer on the Simon & Schuster list who somebody edited. She had left another house because the house didn't want to work with her anymore, but we had an editor who thought she was worth it. So that could happen. I guess that answers your question.
I think so.
Yeah. I'd rather work with somebody who was a good writer. I mean, who was a really good writer and really difficult than the saddest thing, which is when you love someone but you can't publish their next book because their sales track isn't good enough, or maybe they just aren't breaking through, they're not making money for you. That's much harder. And, that's actually a tip I have for writers. I've been in a situation a few times where somebody really, really yelled at me. One time it was because I was a young, immature editor and I didn't know how to say no to her book, and I didn't know what I was doing really. And I kept it hanging around. And so she reamed me out. But other times I've been reamed out because my boss didn't answer something and I couldn't get an answer out of her, and the writer was so frustrated that, I've been yelled at. And I think it's always better, if you're a writer or an artist who's trying to get attention from an editor, to be really nice and make the editor feel incredibly guilty and bad about not getting back to you, than to yell at them when then I think you should be nice to the editor, and you should go out with your friends and have drinks and complain about the editor behind their backs. But yelling at an editor, then they're just even more afraid of then they're even more afraid of dealing with you, whereas if you're really nice, then we feel more and more guilty. When I get somebody tries to follow up with me because I haven't gotten back to them on a manuscript, and they say, I know you're so busy. And I think, I am sitting at home watching 3 episodes of Ozark. I feel, I have time to get back to this person. Then I always feel really guilty. It's much better than yelling at someone.
That's a little bit essential, right? To protect your time to watch our Ozark.
No, absolutely.
Season 1 and 2, I don't know about 3.
My point is, niceness makes the editor feel much worse than trying to scream at them. That's all I think.
And I would never yell at an editor, but even if I yelled at you and I convinced you through my yelling that I am right, we still have to work together the next day. Yeah, exactly. I don't understand the strategy.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many things about human behavior I don't understand, so we'll just leave it there.
Something that's good about me, I can work with anybody. I've actually, I'm old enough now that I realize this. I've been thrown into situations with problematic people again and again. I can work it out with difficult personalities. So
I'm sure that's a useful skill that's come in handy.
It is useful.